In this video, I'll talk about types of colloid. Subscribe to the channel and watch this video until the end. The key element here is that colloid, properties of colloid, types of colloid. First, let us define what's a colloid. A colloid is a heterogeneous mixture. The particle size of colloids is between 1 nanometer to 100 nanometer. Now let us consider milk. Is milk is homogeneous or heterogeneous? When we look it with the help of microscope, milk is a heterogeneous mixture because the particles size is between 1 nanometer to 100 nanometer. Therefore, milk is a colloid. Any types of colloid or a colloid has two parts. The one is dispersed phase and the other is dispersion medium. Dispersed phase acts as a solute and dispersion medium acts as a solvent. A colloid may has only one dispersion medium, but it may has two or more dispersed phase. Tenoidal effect. When a beam of light passes through the solution, we don't observe tenoidal effects because the beam of light does not scattered by solution. Therefore, we cannot observe the beam of light as well as the particle of solution. That's why we don't observe tenoidal effect in a solution. But when we allow a beam of light to pass through a colloid, the colloid scatters the beam of light. Because of this, both the light as well as the particle is observed in colloid. As a result, tenoidal effect is observed in a colloid. Again, when we allow to pass a beam of light through suspension, the suspension scattered a beam of light and we observe the scattered light and the particle of suspension. Therefore, we observe tenoidal effect in a suspension. But tenoidal effect disappears in a suspension because the particle of suspension settle down on keeping. Colloids are quite stable, means that the particles of colloid don't settle down upon standing. The particles don't settle down on keeping. That's why they are quite stable. The dispersed phase in a colloid, also known as internal phase, the particles don't separate by filtration because the particles can pass through filter paper. The dispersion medium, also known as external medium or continuous medium. Now, let us talk about types of colloid. There are 8 types of colloidal solution based on the state of matter present. The first one, aerosol. Now, for example, fog. Water droplet is a dispersed phase. Air is a dispersion medium. When water droplets dispersed throughout the dispersion medium, that's air, it forms fog. Fog is an example of aerosol. The dispersed phase is liquid and the dispersion medium is gas. Therefore, they form aerosol. Aerosol is one type of colloid. Now, the second type of colloid is again aerosol. For example, smoke, dust, ash, carbon are dispersed substance in smoke. And air is the dispersion medium. When dust, ash, carbon dispersed throughout air, they form smoke. And smoke is an example of aerosol. The solid is dispersed phase, gas is dispersion medium, and they form aerosol. Now the third types of colloidal solutions form. Let us take soap lasers. The gas bubble is dispersed phase, and water is a dispersion medium. When a gas bubble distributed through water, they form soap laser. The gas is dispersed substance, liquid is a dispersion medium, and they form foam. Foam is a types of colloids. The fourth types emulsion, milk. In milk, fat droplets, that's liquid, is a dispersed phase, and water is a dispersion medium. When fat droplet disperses throughout water, they make milk. Liquid is dispersed phase, and liquid is a dispersion medium. The type of colloid they form is, we call it emulsion. 5. Sol. Let us take milk of magnesia. In milk of magnesia, magnesium hydroxide is dispersed phase, water is dispersion medium. When magnesium hydroxide dispersed throughout water, they form milk of magnesia, and this milk of magnesia is example of salt. Solid is dispersed substance, liquid is dispersion medium, therefore they form sol. And sol is the types of colloid. 6. Foam. Bread. In bread, air is the dispersed substance, bread is the dispersion medium. When air is dispersed throughout bread, and therefore bread. Bread is example of foam. Gas dispersed, gas is dispersed phase, solid is dispersion medium, and the type of colloid they form is called foam. And 7. Gel. Let us take butter. In butter, the dispersed phase is water, the continuous medium is fat, which is solid. When water droplets dispersed throughout a continuous medium, they form butter. The dispersed phase is liquid, the continuous medium is solid, and the type of colloid they form, we call it gel. And the last types of colloid is solid sol. For example, brass. The dispersed phase is zinc, the continuous medium is copper. When zinc dispersed throughout continuous medium, they form brass. Brass is an example of solid sol. Dispersed phase is solid, the dispersion medium is solid, so the type of colloid they form is solid sol.